All right, we're talking with comedian Mario Adrion. He's going to be at Laugh Boston September 8th. Not your, I guess, average comedian. I got to say, you are from Germany, and I got to say right off, and I'm sure you've heard this before. Germans aren't necessarily known for their sense of humor.
We just don't express it. I think we just, when you tell a German a joke, we're going to be like, oh, this is a very funny joke. Yeah, we think it's funny, but instead of laughing, we suppress the energy from the laughter, and we use it to make better cars. Because that's all we care about in Germany, efficiency. So I think it's, Germans, we don't emote a lot. But I think we do have a sense of humor. yeah.
Well, that process seems to work because there are some fine automobiles that come out of Germany. So
100%. And maybe you Americans laugh too much. That's why maybe your cars are not as good as German cars potentially.
That is a valid observation, sir. That's we're having too much of a good time. That's what it is.
Exactly.
We're spoiled.
Too much joy.
Yeah.
Bad for efficiency. Yep.
Well, you're really not dispelling any of that by calling your tour the German Efficiency Tour, which is so that everything's like down to the millisecond and the milligram, right? Is that what that means?
100%. Every show starts on time. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There will be no delays. No, but I just make a lot of jokes about that and like the American inefficiency sometimes, the unpunctuality. Because I feel like in America, people are a little vague in their speech. You know, I don't like when Americans tell me, they're like, hey, bro, I'll see you later. I'm like, tell me what time. You know, like in Germany, this does not happen. Let's tell me what time exactly. Yeah.
I never thought of it that way. See, it takes someone
this vague, unspecific time frame you're giving me. Does later mean in a few weeks? Does it mean like today, in a few hours? I don't know.
That is, see, I would have never noticed that unless someone from outside of this country noticed that and told me. So I'm guessing you really take it on, though, head on. I mean, the German Efficiency Tour, it's in the name. You kind of, you own it. Is that a way to diffuse the German jokes that people may throw at you or come your way when you're on stage? You know, like I notice you have no problem making jokes or talking about Nazis and the Holocaust. So is that a way to diffuse the situation?
I think I think comedy should be a way of, making fun of things, and like, it's a way of processing things. I think we should make fun or have jokes about perspectives about, like, while it's respectful, about anything. And a big struggle that we Germans have is, our German guilt, and it's very real. And I talk a lot about it. I have a Jewish wife, so there's a lot of, because there's tension in it inherently. So I think it's important to talk about those things. And yeah, of course, I mean, if I didn't address the elephant in the room with, me being a German, it would be also strange. But, I just talk about things that are real to me, that are truthful to me. And, that's definitely a big part of, my experience as a German. And a lot of the things I'm confronted with in America also, yeah.
Well, I can't help but think American media, especially movies and television, usually portray Germans like that. I mean, we can't seem to let go of that. I mean, if you think of things like, all the World War II movies, and then you think of shows like Hogan's Heroes, stuff like that. So I guess it's there's the German guilt, yes, but then there's also, I guess you could say the media portrays Germans in a certain way, right?
Oh, 100%. I notice in America, like when you have a German on a TV show, it's either a guy who sounds very aggressive, like, "You're the Germans," like, like Hitler basically, or they sound super gay. It's like, "I'm the gay German, yeah. I want to invite you to my party tonight. Yeah, my name is Hans, yeah." It's always one or the other. It's very strange how that works. But that's obviously the stereotype. I think most Germans, that's so funny, the stereotype about the speech, though, with the very aggressive sounding like Hitler, that's truly not how we Germans speak. It's so funny. That's like, because Hitler was Austrian too, so it's like a big misconception about that. So yeah, I talk about that stuff also on stage. But it is true, and it's a big part of Germany's history. But, honestly, we do the same thing to Americans. When we have Americans on German TV shows, it's always a dude who's like, "America, freedom, I love our guns, America." It's always like that like that gun-loving American, which obviously is not all of America, but that's like the very specific cowboy stereotype we have, and we think all of America. We as Germans, when I first came here, I thought every American was a cowboy, pretty much, because that's what we learned about.
So when you say when you came here, how old were you when you came to the United States?
When I first came, I think I was 18, maybe 19 years old when I first came here. It was when I first started modeling in New York. I had a guy reach out to me. He was like, "Hey, Mario, you should come to New York, be a model." And yeah, then I came here from my small town straight to New York City. It was a big culture shock. But yeah, 18 years old.
Yeah. So you went to, from what I've read, tell me if this is true or not. We can fact check here. You went to an open mic, I think in L.A., and that's where you got the comedy bug, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, like, to your point of Germans not being funny, I was always a silly kid, though, but I think I had to suppress that comedic ambition because, I'm German.
Yeah.
There's no, comedy's not big in Germany. I don't know anybody who does comedy or did comedy. There's not even famous comedians in Germany. It's not a thing like here, like where Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, huge stars, right? So I always had to suppress that. Then even as a model, you have to be very serious, put on your blue steel, be a cool fashion model. So I think the comedic thing, I always had the ambition to do comedy, I always had the desire, but I kind of had to suppress it. So when I came to LA, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do comedy, prove people wrong, and tell people, yeah, Germans can be funny, and models can also be funny.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you if there is some kind of comedy scene anywhere in Germany, and have you been back since you've started doing stand-up to do stand-up in Germany?
That's a great question. I have not actually. No, I started in Los Angeles. I started right around I moved to LA and got a place in LA. I was like, I'm going to do stand-up comedy, and moved there like a week before the pandemic started. And just stayed mainly then I left, but like comedy, nothing was open really in Germany. Currently, I'm applying for my green card, so I'm not allowed to leave the U.S.
Oh, okay.
But once I get my green cards, I'm planning on doing a tour in Europe. I'm going to take the German efficiency tour back to the Vaterland, which I'm excited but also a little nervous about because I have never done comedy in Germany or in front of Germans. First of all, I don't know how Germans are going to laugh or react. I'm assuming a lot of my audience in Berlin will be Americans living in Berlin or, like Europeans living there. But I don't know how I could do comedy in German because, German is my first language, but a lot of my perspectives and jokes are about my perspective as a German on America, right? So then I would have to almost like rewrite those perspectives for the jokes to land because, a lot of the jokes are about like typical American things that Americans would know. So I don't know if Germans are educated enough to understand the nuance of these references. So yeah, I'm very excited. Also, I don't know if people are going to laugh. That's one of back to your point in the beginning. I don't know if they're going to laugh or if they're just going to be like, I'm telling you the crazy joke and the funniest punchline, and they're going to be like, ha.
Well, I mean,
next one,
that's potentially every night anywhere for a comedian, really, though, right? You just
possibly,
don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you, for lack of a better word, there is a wokeness here in America, and certain comedians will maybe get canceled or they'll be attacked for something they say. Is there something similar like that in Germany? Is it the same thing, or is there even a wokeness in Germany? And if there is, how is it different than here in the United States?
A great question. So first of all, I'm not in Germany, so I'm learning about all this via the internet or my parents when I talk to them. I called my dad yesterday. We talked about it actually a little bit. There's definitely a PC culture where everything like with gender, for example, like words. In Germany, we have unlike America, we have genders, right? In terms of words, each word has a gender, much like in Spanish or French.
Oh, okay.
So you have some words are masculine, some are feminine. So in Germany now we have, instead of saying a student would be usually we say Studierender, which means like it's a male version. Now they gender it to make it like inclusive of women too, right? So stuff like that. That's where a lot of Germans are annoyed because it's not efficient, and Germans are like, oh, this is especially old people are like, oh no, it's so inefficient. Yeah, we have to learn the new spelling of the word. I mean, we don't want to do this. Yeah, why are you doing this? Right? That's like one thing. The big difference, I would say, is that it's not as political, and it's not like there's two sides. Because in America, you have elections coming up. I feel like it's so divided here in America because you only have two parties. So I think like every opinion is not an opinion; it's linked to a party. So whether it's about like trans rights, women's rights, it's always like linked to a party. Whereas in Germany, it's not. It's just we have 7 parties in the parliament, so there's not this division. So for example, my dad, he didn't want to get the vaccine. Right. So then in Germany, people are like, oh, I think he does not like vaccines. You know, it was not this big political thing. In America, if you don't get the vaccine, people are like, he hates trans people. You know, it's like this on both
Right.
sides. It's very like divided, where it's like, oh, put you in boxes with the woke, you're woke or you're anti-woke, right? In Germany, it's like, I think it's less heated and less emotional.
Okay.
I think each topic, whether it's woke or anti-woke or whether it's political stuff, it's all very like, it's just an opinion, and there's less emotion involved and less of the us versus them dynamic I see here in America.
So you spent some time modeling. Did you learn any skills as a model that you were able to apply to your stand-up comedy career?
That's a great question. Well, I talk a lot about modeling, so obviously there's a lot of funny stories that happen with modeling because it's a ridiculous life to live as a model, right? I think in general, there's a little bit of a general stage presence potentially because, you know, once you do underwear photo shoots and you're in a Speedo in front of like a room full of photographers and like lighting guys and fluffers, you just kind of, okay, there's no fluffers, but you know, you just every day, no, but you just, I think there's a general confidence once because that's a very vulnerable space to be in. You're in your underwear, it's cold, you know, you feel like, you know, when it's cold, I don't know about you, but like, you know, I kind of, you know, get a little shriveled, you know, so you have to like juggle all these things, and it's very embarrassing. So I think having gone through that gives me more confidence when I'm in an awkward situation on stage. And I think that helps. Yeah.
So you mentioned the legendary pose Blue Steel earlier. And how accurate is Zoolander as far as the modeling industry?
It's so funny. I think it's very accurate. And,
really?
It is. Oh, no, I mean, it's obviously it's an exaggeration of a very real thing because I'll tell you, so like I was always very insecure about having a bit of a round face when I was modeling. Like I had a little bit of a baby fat. You know, it's just I was younger. It's genetic. I was very lean, but it's not my body fat. It's just like I just had a bit chubby face, right? So then when I was doing these photo shoots, I would sometimes, to have a more angular face, I would actually, when you look at the camera, you would kind of suck in your cheeks a little bit or like bite your jaw so you have more of a jawline in photos. These little tricks, and it's so dumb. And Zoolander, the Blue Steel, obviously is an exaggerated version of that, but it is like, there's a lot of truth to it as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's so something I always wonder, are you thinking, like, what's going through your head when you were modeling? What is going through your head when you're walking the catwalk?
Wow. Okay. So there's a couple of things you do. Like somebody once said, I think Ellen wrote a book about it. She was like, oh, if you want to walk the runway, you have to walk down and think about how you're pissed at the world because God made you so beautiful. Right? So it's like anger, it's grumpiness, but it's also a little bit of arrogance. It's like, damn, I'm too good looking. You just like grumpy about that, you know, and then like and you keep that energy, you walk down the runway. That's basically what you need if you want to be a successful model.
That is quite a cross to bear, being beautiful. I'm sure.
It is tough. It is tough. I'm glad I could come on this show to talk about the struggles of a 6'3" ridiculously good looking white man in America. People don't talk about the struggle enough. We go through. You know, we have to suck in our jaws. I had the weirdest, like, at one time for Fashion Week, a photographer was like, or a casting or a creative director of a show was like, okay, guys, we want you to walk with the energy of an urban lion, but flow like water.
What?
At the same time.
What?
It was like some Bruce Lee, like Shaolin monk, kung fu cryptic description. But they were serious. They were like, you got to have the urban lion, but then flow like water. I was like, how do you do that? I don't know. So I was like, just walking out. It's sometimes weird. Modeling is very strange, but at the end of the day, you know, you just got to look grumpy. It's weird. Male models too, usually have to look more grumpy than female models because female models, you know, Victoria's Secret, they can smile. Male models usually are never smile. We always look just like grumpy.
Right, because if you're smiling wearing underwear, then guys won't think you're a man. Probably, I'm guessing.
Oh, that's actually, you know what? That might be it.
Yeah.
That might be it. Yep.
You can't smile at another guy in a locker room when you're all naked. You got to be like, hey, how you doing? What's up? Yeah, and you can't be like, put a big grin on your face or anything, right? There's always that fear. They're going to think I'm gay, you know?
That's so true. You got to talk about football and stuff, bro.
Right? Yeah, that's
touchdown.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you see the? Did you see the Dodgers last night? That's good. That's good.
All right. Well, Mario Adrion, he's going to be at Laugh Boston on September 8th. Looking forward to that. Thank you very much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was so fun. Thank you.